Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot Little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Season 7 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series here, presented by Valvoline Instant Oil Change on the iRacing service. And tonight, we are headed back to the ATL for tonight's Nordic Aluminum 200, round 5 of 22 of Season 7, and it's taking place from Echo Park Speedway in Hampton, Georgia. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Jordy Carraher, and I am thrilled to be back on the broadcast again, hopefully with a more full voice this time around than you would have experienced last week. But enough about my voice. The guy who certainly made his presence felt again, that would be the 00 of Jordan Kalinian as we take a look at last week's race results. Kalinian going back-to-back in the winner's circle this year in the EMSN Mexico 120, live from the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. And he won both stages and ultimately finished off his 21st career win in this series, which, for those paying attention at home, that gives him the all-time lead among any driver over the course of our history. So certainly an impressive achievement for the 00 as you get a good look at our overall results. Kalinian wound up overtaking Bryce Fountaine late in stage 1 after a mistake there from our pole sitter. And as a result, those two have now flipped places in the driver's standings as well as we take a look at those. Maybe if I click properly, we'll take a look at those. As you can see, Jordan Kalinian now with 235 points on the season. Reminder, we have moved to the 2026 format where it's now 55 points for a win as opposed to the 40, so those mean even more now. And as mentioned, Kalinian and our previous leader, Bryce Fountaine, have flipped places in the standings, but Fontaine's certainly well and truly safe in relation to the cut line, which is currently occupied by, in a tie, Lee Campbell and Matt McDonald, who both have a 5-point gap over Tyler Fitzsimmons. Granted, it is still pretty early here in the season, but, you know, all the points count the same once we get to the end of the regular season. So time to start thinking about it, time to start banking those points. And yeah, you never know what is going to kind of come of it down the road. And another thing to mention here tonight as we wait for qualifying to get going here shortly, tonight's also the first night of our in-season tournament for Season 7. And it's going to be a slightly different format this year. No head-to-heads like we had last year. Instead, it's just straight-up placement. So, again, tonight is the opening night here, so all of our drivers will be in. Top 16 finishers will move into round 2 at Kentucky in a couple weeks' time. Then the top 8 will advance to round 3 to be contested at the Daytona Road Course. Final 4 after that head to Kansas Speedway. And then the finale will be at Phoenix Raceway, where our final 2, or no, not final 2, excuse me. So top 4 after Kansas will move on to Phoenix. And okay, I think I actually had it one race off. So let me rephrase what I've just said. Top 16 after Kentucky move on to the next round. So my apologies for that. Top 8 after the 3rd round at Daytona Road Course move on to the next stage. Then after Kansas, that's our final 4 setup. And again, it'll be Phoenix Raceway where our in-season challenge champion is crowned. And the winner will receive a $25 iRacing gift card, as well as a custom paint scheme by our very own Jason Butler, and free entry for Season 8 of the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR Series. So not exactly, something to, not account for here, certainly. And it's going to be, that's quite a prize pack for our drivers. So hopefully we'll see, some pretty strong commitment over the course of those 5 races. And we are just about set to get into qualifying, I do believe. Let me just throw throw up the old overlay here to confirm our timing, because we were incredibly efficient in terms of making sure that everything was up to speed here in terms of getting everything turned around. And yeah, we're able to get it here relatively tight timeline. It has to be said, a little bit later than I wanted to be online, but hey, we got through everything that we needed to do here, and we are just about finished up with our initial practice session. So you can see we're into the single digits for seconds here, and an interesting leaderboard here so far. Only 20 drivers on it, which is also an interesting note here as we move along, as the checkered flag flies on the practice session. So quick qualifying session for the drivers over the next couple minutes. And as you can see, lap times around this 1.5 mile configuration here, probably around 30 seconds once we get into actual formal race trim, as we now have 21 drivers signed in. And okay, let's just head to pit lane here super quick, because it looks like we're going to start getting some times on the board. And we have sort of our head of the series now, Jose Mercado, out on track. Of course, one of our OGs here, stepping up and taking a more prominent role in Season 7 out of Kissimmee, Florida, driving the signature Valvoline Instant Oil Change livery here on his GTR Motorsports Ford. And, you know, certainly shout out to Jose and the rest of the crew that stepped up in a sort of new era, it has to be said, for the E-Motorsports network. And you can see the time ticking down, 3:45 left in this qualifying session. And we'll pop ahead to the guy driving the livery for tonight's title sponsor and the hometown guy, CD Mangrum out of Atlanta, Georgia. And yeah, just a point of clarification. Of course, everybody is on track at the same time during this qualifying session. Now we are only able to view one car at a time, and thankfully I do have my driver cameras working tonight. Kind of figured out what was going on there. So it should be a lot easier and smoother from a switching perspective. And you'll see Bryce Fontaine at the head of the field right now with a time of 31.484. As it looks like he's just wound up his hot lap here. Jason Butler on the front row right now, 1/100th of a second back. Now, let's see. Mike Marini was fastest here in the not qualifying practice session. Of course, this is qualifying. Let's see what Marini's got as he... Well, actually, he's already crossed into P13 at the moment. But you can see really not much of a gap throughout the field. As let's go to Lee Campbell. He's yet to set a time. One of 4 drivers who's yet to set a time. He's crossed the line here now, though. Yeah, and it looks like it'll be 21 drivers contesting tonight's race. And, hey, CD Mangrum, we were just talking about him. He's pacing the field right now with a time of 31.441 as he heads back into pit lane to disconnect. This may be Campbell's flying lap here out of Ballston Spa, New York. And let's see what he's got as he crosses the line. And time good for now 18th as Ryan O'Toole has moved ahead. Now just 2 drivers who've yet to post a time. One of them here is Matt McDonald out of Calgary, Alberta. And I'm not sure if that's a flyer that we caught him on there or an outlap. Looks like it was a flyer, good for 19th right now. So only driver remaining to post a time is the number 15 of Kyle Knoll out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and I don't know if he's going to be posting a time as I don't see him on track. And it looks like we're probably getting everyone that we're going to get, truthfully, with less than a minute left here in qualifying. And it looks like it'll be the number 1 of CD Mangrum, who's admittedly looking to bounce back after a couple of tough weeks. And certainly a little bit of home cooking could help the number 1 out. As again, we see our time ticking down here slowly. And let's actually see if I'm going to check to confirm I have access to race control here potentially. Not 100% sure if it's logged in on the other side, but we'll see. Hopefully we'll be able to kind of get everything configured. And okay, it looks like we're not going to see Kyle Knoll on track. It looks like it could be a start and park situation, unfortunately, for the 15, just to make sure that he grabs the points. Yeah, not unlike what we saw with John Williams last week. And just to clarify that particular point, you might see if you went on to Sim Racer Hub that he was technically listed as a did not start, but it was a little bit of a glitch situation there, so we did make sure he was awarded the proper points. As we will try to move to a pit lane camera. It's not letting me do that at the moment. Let's see if I can just reload that view. Let's see, there we go. That's much better. And it looks like just about everybody's gridded up and good to go, or pretty close. Wouldn't be surprised if we have Corbin McCauley talking with the drivers right now in the good old pre-race meeting. And yeah, it's just a lot of hurry up and wait until the most famous command is ready to go and get in the queue that we are good to roll the starting lineup here now. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and unveil tonight's starting grid for the Nordic Aluminum 200. And as mentioned on poll, it will be from P1, number 1, the Nordic Aluminum Toyota of CD Mangrum, of course, driving for Tornado Alley Racing out of Atlanta, Georgia. And on his outside, we head to Graham, North Carolina for the Control Alt Defeat Motorsports Chevy of our defending Earl Ross Cup champion, Blake Thronberg. On row 2 now, where we find the number 60 Warrior Racing Ford, of Justin Belmonte out of Patchogue, New York, now that we've got that pronunciation settled. And we stay in New York, actually, for the outside of row 2, where we find the number 31 Hyperdrive Motorsports Toyota of Will Kern out of Dansville, New York. Rounding up top 5 is another Hyperdrive Motorsports driver, actually, the number 17 Toyota of Bryce Fontaine out of Cape Coral, Florida. Until last week, the championship leader, of course, in Season 7. Now usurped in that, but we'll see how long that lasts. And this is a nice surprise here. Jason Butler in the number 10 519E Racing Chevy out of London, Ontario, starting in 6th. Great lap there. On to row 4 now, where we find the first of our blue collar racing, drivers, the number 13 of Jared Ireland out of Eudora, Kansas. And on his outside is our championship leader and guy on a run of back-to-back wins right now, the number 00 Control Alt Defeat Motorsports Toyota of Jordan Kalinian. Rounding out the top 10, we have the second of our Tornado Alley Racing drivers, the number 21 of Adam Wilson out of Delmar, Delaware. And on his outside, we have the third of the Hyperdrive entries, the number 4 Toyota of Mason Tomlinson out of Eudora, Kansas. And we'll move on to the back half of the field where we find the number 11, or starting in 11th, not car 11, the number 93 Big T Motorsports Chevy of Tom Janikowski out of Appleton, Wisconsin. And on his outside is the number 29 GTR Motorsports Toyota of Mario Ercolani out of Parsonsfield, Maine. On to row 7 now, where we have the, again, OG, as I mentioned earlier, one of our originals in this series, and now effectively the administrator moving forward, the number 41 GTR Motorsports Ford of Jose Mercado out of Kissimmee, Florida. And on his outside in 14th is the number 42 of Tyler Fitzsimmons out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, as we've got everybody off and running here now. On row 8, where we find the number 12 Toyota of Mike Marini out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. And on his outside, as we'll go ahead and move our camera along here, on his outside will be the number 5 Chevy of John Williams out of Moyock, North Carolina, driving for Midpack Motorsports. And on row 9, we have the number 16 Chevy of Ryan O'Toole out of Portland, Oregon. And on his outside, we head to Ballston Spa, New York, where we find the number 6 Ford of Lee Campbell. And rounding out the field, or row 10, I should say, the number 25 Ford of Matt McDonald out of Calgary, Alberta. And on his outside, the number 22 Ford. That'll be Anthony Schauer, another one of our rookies out of Chicago, Illinois, driving for K-Tan Racing. And to round out the field, as mentioned before, the number 15 of Kyle Knoll out of Raleigh, North Carolina, primarily sponsored by Storm Surge Esports. And now we'll go ahead and get into some race details here real quick. Maybe we'll hang on to that as we are actually going green right away. Tonight's Nordic Aluminum 200 is well and truly underway. As we'll go ahead and turn the grid off. There's your top 10 early on. Looks like a relatively clean start. Race analysis, 130 laps. Stages, you're looking at 30 for this opening run and 250s to end. Pit road speed, 45 miles an hour. Fuel window, you're looking at 33 laps. So one green flag pit stop in each of stages 2 and 3. And Scott Bailey was your race winner last year. And he's not in the field here tonight either. So we'll be guaranteed a new winner. So we will go ahead and get ourselves a different view of the early proceedings. Go ahead and shut things off. And there you see we're down to just the 20 cars in the field. Again, I'm not even sure if Kyle Knoll took the start there, as he's not technically listed, but again, we'll make sure that he has the proper points. CD Mangrum leading earlier. Justin Belmonte with a nice start here to move up to second early on. Bryce Fontaine third, Adam Wilson fourth, and Blake Thronberg, who started on the front row, finds himself down 3 spots in fifth, with his teammate and Season 6 rival Jordan Kalinian now on his tail in 6th. Mason Tomlinson with a nice start in the early going, up 3 spots to 7. Got ahead of his fellow Eudora, Kansas driver Jared Ireland, who sits right behind him in 8th. Tom Janikowski in 9th. And Will Kern rounds out the top 10. He's another one who dropped down the field early. Matter of fact, I may actually take a peek at the 31 to see just how precipitous that drop wound up being. As we will go ahead and take a peek. Yeah. No, that's not the one I wanted. Positions, I think, is the one I wanted. Yeah, started 4th, dropped down to 10th. So certainly not the ideal start for Will Kern in the early going. But you can see he's made the move up to 9th, and we saw him drop down as low as, I believe, 14th or 15th going into stage 3 of last week's Mexico 120, and still found his way back up into the top 5 by the end of it. So very confident driver as well. As we will bring it back to the head of the field here. with CD Mangrum still controlling the proceedings, now on lap 6 of 130. And Belmonte just content to stick behind him here for now, letting Mangrum dictate the pace ultimately. Pretty quiet here in the early going as we move on to lap 7. And yeah, looks like the inside line's kind of the predominant line right now at Echo Park Speedway. We'll see what happens as the conditions change, and we'll get into the conditions here shortly. But first, as of course we come up on lap 8 right about now, we'll do this weekly here, our remembrance and homage to Kyle Busch. And there we go. We're back to begin lap 9 of 130 here overall tonight. Of course, 30 in this opening stage. And it looks like we got a bit of congestion forming on the outside. Adam Wilson at the head of that line. But Fontaine giving Mangrum a bit of a push on that lower line. Mangrum holds the lead for now. We'll see what kind of run Wilson gets on the outside here, though. Getting a push from Jared Ireland. And it looks like it's starting to get into more of a double file formation here, as Adam Wilson has taken the race lead here on the momentum of the outside line, or the high line, so to speak. And we'll see what kind of run Wilson gets out of 4 here. But it's enough for Mangrum to be able to take the lead once again on the inside. And guys just more or less content to get into a rhythm here in the early going. Lots of hack racing in the practice session as well from the few minutes that I was able to observe. And everybody more or less in the pocket here right now as we come through to begin lap 12 right about now. Fontaine looking to make a move here potentially. A little bit of a sniff on the outside. 3 wide through 1 and 2. Fontaine's out ahead by a nose. Mangrum's going to fight it. And everybody's playing fair so far. But still 3 wide. This does not feel sustainable here whatsoever. Sure, there's 3 lanes, but the space only lasts for so long. And Fontaine leads that lap as we move on to lap 13 here of 130. Nearly halfway through this opening stage already. And you can see nobody's been left behind here in this field. Last thing you'd want to do at this particular track or any kind of configuration like this is to, potentially lose the draft or lose the pack. And it is nip and tuck out there between Mangrum and Fontaine. Mangrum continues to lead going on to lap 14. And again, just super tight all the way through the field. Again, 1.6 seconds separating the entirety of the field right now as Kalinian looks to have a go on the outside, but ultimately tucks back in behind Fontaine. How about Anthony Schauer making a move? He was started this one in 20th. He's suddenly all the way up in the top 5 already. So very impressive run for the 22 here in the early going tonight. As Fontaine has taken the lead, now takes the lower line. But there's Jordan Kalinian there to more or less hold him accountable on the outside. Mangrum's still running second between them. And maybe, nothing too awkward there between Thronberg and Schauer. Maybe a little bit of a push up the track, but no harm, no foul. As we move on to lap 16 of 130 now. Turn up high. Maybe a little bit of chop on Kalinian, but again, no contact there, so we race on. And now that he's got a bit of clean air, Fontaine's looking awfully comfortable at the head of the field. Again, we're not expecting any green flag pit stops here in the opening stage. 33 laps is the fuel window. And so again, I talked about the weather a little bit earlier. Let's go ahead and have a little bit of a deeper dive here. So current conditions, track temperature, actually not too bad, 28 degrees. So what that would suggest is longer tire life here, depending on the surface. Certainly it's not going to overheat the tires nearly as much as, say, we would have had at Mexico City last week, where track temperatures were in the 50s in Celsius and 120 in Fahrenheit, or in the 120s. So a pronounced difference as Blake Thronberg's now taking the lead of this one. Thronberg, of course, the defending Earl Ross Cup champion, and now he has his Control-Alt-Defeat teammate Jordan Kalinian behind him in second. As now we will, again, we see the entirety of the field separated by 2 seconds now in this opening stage, so everybody's staying within striking distance, it has to be said. And we'll go ahead and go on board now with the 22 of Anthony Schauer as he looks at our lead battle. He's got a good perspective of it, running that high line in fourth, now third, as he's effectively door-to-door with Bryce Fontaine. There he is, poking the nose ahead. And a nice look at how everybody's cooperating so far on the back straight. Of course, it is only lap 20 as Thronberg maybe gets a little bit of a high push there. Kalinian may stand to benefit. Again, lap 20 or lap 21, this feels more civil. Come back to me at lap 121, particularly given our history here at Echo Park, formerly Atlanta Motor Speedway. Come back to me on lap 121 and we'll see how I'm feeling. But, as I said, everybody playing nice here so far. Blake Thronberg, your leader. Anthony Schauer up to second, battling with Jordan Kalinian for the position. And let's get right into the weeds of the midfield here, shall we, with the number 42 of Tyler Fitzsimmons out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let's ride on board with him here for a little bit. See how he's handling the congestion mid-pack. Lap 22 of 130. Again, 30 laps for this opening stage, so not expecting anyone to do anything other than just circulate for these laps. Not really a whole lot of strategy involved, as they'll be able to get full service at the stage caution in, give or take, 7 laps time. And again, Fitzsimmons currently running 9th, and loving the Marty Robbins livery here. We'll see if Fitzsimmons fancies himself a little bit of a gunslinger over the course of the evening, or, as we've seen in past races in Atlanta, whether he becomes the unfortunate soul who gets yeeted all the way to El Paso. And now we'll head up to our pole sitter, C.J. Mangrum, now running in 3rd. Kind of tucked in behind Kalinian. My mistake, now 4th, now that Fontaine's got the run on the high line. Maybe a little bit of bump in there between, looks like, Kern and Schauer. But again, it's still Blake Thronberg at the head of the field. Mangrum maybe trying to push Thronberg so he can advance his own position. But again, not really a whole lot to worry about here. It's effectively a 30-lap test session if you can think about it from that perspective. You can kind of get a feel for the car, and then you'll know what to expect for the longer runs if you're a lot of these drivers. 5 laps to go now in this opening stage. And again, it's Blake Thronberg still leading. Maybe a little bit of a side draft there between Mangrum and Kalinian coming out of 2. But again, now it's Thronberg with a little bit of clean air, but nobody's able to get away. We've seen that with a number of lead changes over the course of the evening here already. No one's really been able to firmly establish themselves in that spot. And if this is the level of competitive racing we can expect, I, for one, am all for it. As we're coming up on 3 laps remaining now in this opening stage, it is car 3 currently in the lead. But car 1 might have something to say about that, as there's a little bit of contact between Thronberg and Mangrum. And Mangrum running that inside line. Thronberg about medium, more or less. Mason Tomlinson maybe trying to give him a bit of a push forward. But it looks like that kind of higher lines prevailing for the moment. Thronberg coming down to block the position. Kalinian in no man's land on the outside. And it's an all control, alt defeat top 2 here right now, with 2 laps to go in the stage. Thronberg now here with a bit of a gap. Nobody immediately challenging on that high line. And Thronberg crosses the line here to begin the final lap of stage 1. Mangrum looks to go high to see if he's got an answer here. Trying to grab the stage win. Oh, a bit of contact there between Thronberg and Mangrum. Oh, he gets loose. Kalinian turns him. And that will almost certainly end the stage about, 3/4 of a mile early, as we'll go ahead and grab a replay on that. So that will end the stage, of course, as we'll take another look. So yeah, there's the initial contact between Thronberg and Mangrum. Mangrum never really gets full control again, and Kalinian winds up turning him out of 2. And we'll see if race control has something to say about that. May actually look at it again from the perspective of Jordan Kalinian to see what he saw. And let's see, may have to go back a little bit further for this. Well, we'll go live for now. Back a minute. Still getting used to the controls here, folks, so you'll have to forgive me for that. Okay, this looks like it should be the start of the final lap. Let me just go ahead and check the camera. So yeah, Thronberg's leading here. I might have actually gone too far back here. Yeah, I think I'm 1 lap too far. So I think what I'll do is we'll negate that for now, because pit lane's far more important at this point. And so it winds up being Blake Thronberg winning the stage, as everybody's into pit lane here now. See what kind of a view we can get here. More or less try to figure this out as we go. And Thronberg beats Ercolani out of pit lane, it would appear. So I wonder if Mario Ercolani, a guy we haven't really talked about a whole lot tonight, he may have tried an alternate strategy to jump some positions here early on. The end result is him coming out in second. But again, our stage winner here to begin the night, the defending Earl Ross Cup champion, Blake Thronberg, in the Control Alt Defeat Motorsports Chevy out of Graham, North Carolina. Sponsorship from Thronberg Construction. Now with 3 victories in his E-Motorsports Network career. I should really update my spotter chart to reflect that. He had the 2 last year, of course, the most important one being the season finale to make him our defending Ross Cup champion. And so let's do a little bit of a reset here. It looks like we have, would there be some penalties there perhaps, or some extended damage as a result of that wreck to end the stage? We'll have to see if I've got anything from race control on that. Nothing doing just yet, so again, not 100% sure if that's going to be just attributed to a racing incident or what we're looking at the moment. But what I do know is that I don't see any pace car lights on right now, so we may well be looking at the green flag this time around. And we'll go from pace car's perspective as he's on the back straight now. Again, I thought it was the pace car. There we go. Looks like everybody's just about gridded up with the exception of Jason Butler, who's still in pit lane. Perhaps some extended damage there, getting caught up in that early incident. Again, I would have expected full service for the lion's share of the field, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if Mario Ercolani took a little bit of a different strategy tact, and that being the end result of him moving forward, as we'll now go to Blake Thronberg as he'll take the green flag. Stage 2 is coming. We got some thunder, boys, as Thronberg takes off nicely. Leaves Mason Tomlinson in the dust there on the lower line. Great getaway from the 3. And let's see what I've got. And just a pure racing incident on that one for everybody involved. So no penalties. Everyone's on the up and up. Oh, maybe Anthony Schauer was trying to prove me wrong there straight away. But again, Thronberg gets away cleanly here. But now he's being pushed by Mason Tomlinson as these two try to get some early separation. So we're looking at, again, since green flag racing resumed on lap 34, we're looking at, if we do some math here, it'll be 47 laps of competition here before we see the stage 2 yellow. And again, for any of our viewers out there, I should, of course, point out, we certainly encourage your interaction over the course of the evening. Let us know who you're cheering for, where you're cheering from, as we certainly appreciate that support. As Thronberg continues to lead this one. Handling things rather capably as more or less the top 5 are in single file. Quietly, John Williams has made his way up into the top 5 in the 5 out of Moyock, North Carolina. And from there, it's pretty much double file the rest of the field. Although, again, I would suspect Jason Butler is looking at an extended stay in pit lane, maybe the end of his night. Not classified as out yet. But there's the, you almost speak it into existence sometimes. The man himself, Jason Butler, 10 car is in fact done for the night. Unrepairable damage is what we're being told in the YouTube chat. So, there's a little bit of inside baseball for you. So Jason Butler will be our first retirement of the evening. But there's still lots of racing left to be had here as, again, Blake Thronberg continues to lead. And again, we'll throw it to a little bit of a different perspective here in the midfield as we will check in on the number 12 of Mike Marini out of Thunder Bay, Ontario, currently running in 13th. Again, was looking good earlier, just hasn't necessarily translated to on-track performance, although certainly has proven to be fast in spurts over the years. But yeah, just going back to Jason Butler for a second, of course, qualified 6th tonight. It's certainly a shame to see him the first retirement of tonight's race. But certainly the 10 has shown he can hang here and is, looking to continue building momentum here for the rest of the season. Try to sneak back into a playoff spot, perhaps. As again, things looking fairly uniform here for the most part. Again, Marini may be running a touch higher. But again, nobody really doing anything, although Kalinian goes to the high line, finds the gap. And it looks like he's going to cozy on up right to the back of Justin Belmonte at the back end of the top 10. As we're on to lap 42 now of 130. With Will Kern now your race leader. Although, as I say that, Blake Thronberg's mounting a challenge to get that lead right back. Bryce Fontaine wanting to get into the mix with his hyperdrive teammate as well. And it's 3 hyperdrives in the top 4, actually, with Mason Tomlinson there in 3rd. Thronberg now leading, but again, it's all hyperdrive after him. Kern, Tomlinson, Fontaine running 2, 3, 4. Jared Ireland rounds out the top 5. And Kern holding that high line nicely. Close quarters there with Thronberg, but nothing materializing that time around as we move on to lap 44. Kern getting a bit of a push from Fontaine. And Thronberg temporarily retaking the race lead on that low line. We'll see what kind of response Kern has with an aid from Fontaine there via that bump. And Thronberg briefly retakes the lead. I believe he was classified as the race leader going through that lap. We're roughly 1/3 of the race distance here now, as we're now on to lap 45 of 130. And it looks like, roughly top, first 6 or 7 rows largely double file so far. Maybe a couple of stragglers at the back. And we'll see how Tyler Fitzsimmons and CD Mangrum will be able to work together over the course of the evening, whether they'll just be able to more or less survive this stage and get to the back of the draft there again, because as you can see, they're running 15 seconds behind everybody else. Currently, it's Ryan O'Toole at the back of that draft in 17th. And there's your official classification for Jason Butler out of tonight's Nordic Aluminum 200. And just as quickly as he got up to the head of the field, we find John Williams now in 13th, had been running in the top 5. Ditto for Mario Ercolani. He'd started this stage in 2nd, as a matter of fact. Oh boy! Now nobody's going anywhere, as we got ourselves a lot of calamities here. 2nd caution of the evening. We got to take another look at that. And that could give guys like, Mangrum and Fitzsimmons an opportunity. And we'll see if we can get a better view of this. Ercolani coming through, and just ahead. I'll see if I can go back. Maybe Anthony Schauer had a better view of that. Let's actually see here if we can go on board with the 22. Maybe a rear chase. Nope. GD1. Oh, definitely some activity there at the head of the field. And yeah, there's your initial contact. Mercado very much involved. So we'll get it from his perspective. That'll be the way to go. Certainly not his preference, but that'll be the way it's going. And we will see if we can get an aerial shot. Yeah, it was a little bit of net code maybe between Fontaine and Mercado. And yeah, just bumpity bump, bump, bump. And there you see the end result for the 41. Going in the wrong direction. And now everybody's back onto pit lane as we're back live. Again, second competition caution of the evening. Will Kern emerging as your race leader. And again, this should stand to benefit the guys like, again, CD Mangrum and Tyler Fitzsimmons, who were caught up in that early wreck at the end of stage 1. Make sure I'm actually not muted here. We're good. And so it's a reset, and we'll see what our race control verdict is. And yeah, we're calling it a loose moment there from the 41. Again, it could potentially have been netcode as well, as it looked like he and Fontaine were in relatively close quarters. And again, if we take a peek at our race summary here, that is our second competition caution of the evening. And okay, getting word, cars really on edge here tonight at Echo Park Speedway. Just an extremely loose moment there, excuse me, not moose. A loose moment from Jose Mercado. And ultimately you see what happens. And yeah, very interesting early race summary. 14 lead changes already. And yeah, that just goes to show you just how neck and neck this race has been so far over the first 50 laps. And again, we'll see how things kind of work out strategically as we see Tom Janikowski and Jose Mercado getting the worst of that one, as they're still in pit lane, possibly with some extended damage, a la Jason Butler after that first wreck. And it looks like we're going green again after, or on this lap. No lights on the pace car. That's usually the dead giveaway. And we'll see what this restart looks like here. We'll have realistically 17 drivers on the lead lap. And as everybody was on the lead lap last time, no lucky dog. But we'll see if there's no luck or more or less all skill in the restart. Kern bottling them all up. He gets away, but Thronberg goes with him. Does Thronberg actually have the line at the start-finish? I don't know about a jump start there necessarily, but I don't know if Kern got the best getaway there on lap 51 as we're back to green. And that's even with a push from his hyperdrive teammate Fontaine. So not exactly the ideal start there for Will Kern, as Thronberg has the lead right now on the outside. And yeah, confirmation that, yeah, no jump start from Will Kern. Just, yeah, maybe a bit of a slow start. But it looks like the 31's made amends here. He's back in the lead for the time being. Again, getting a... Oh! Subsequently turned by his teammate, Bryce Fontaine. And that's another caution. And let's take another look at that one. This feels more like Atlanta, doesn't it? So, we take another look at this. We have Kern and Thronberg in close quarters coming down the back straight, and yeah, there's the turn. And that's Kern ending up facing very much in the wrong direction. O'Toole with some good avoidance there. And we'll get that one from the perspective of Justin Belmonte, because he was right in the thick of it as well. Or should say he was a little bit further back in the field, but he'll have a good view of trying to avoid everybody. There you see the initial contact. Kern running the wrong way. Belmonte able to navigate it. Maybe using Fitzsimmons as a little bit of a shield there as well. And again, given the fact that everybody just came in, I would be surprised if we had more pit stops. And certainly that does not appear to be the case. So, well, I say that. Jordan Kalinian and Tyler Fitzsimmons make their way into pit lane. Reigning series leader. All-time race wins leader. And, yeah, looks like it's going to be an EOL penalty for Bryce Fontaine. And I can't say I'm 100% surprised on that one, as, yeah, we do have some pit stops coming. Maybe some early fueling, perhaps. Yeah, maybe I'm a little bit surprised by that, given the relative proximity to the last caution. Would have been a good time to sort of split the stage effectively. But this eliminates any possible doubt. And what it also does is it puts the number 6 of Lee Campbell in the lead of this one. Campbell in his 3rd season overall within the E-Motorsports network. His first 2, however, were in the NASCAR Heat era. So we haven't seen him in about 5 years here within the series. And suddenly he finds himself P1 midway through stage 2. And it looks like he's going to have Thronberg on his outside. Not bad company, defending Earl Ross Cup champion. And ultimately it will be Campbell taking them to the green flag next time around. We saw Thronberg get a good restart last time. Got a little bit of a jump on Kern. And we'll see if the lights come off here. You'd have to think we're looking at... Indeed, the lights are off, so it will be back to green next time by. And let's see what kind of extended damage we have here. Again, we're looking at Bryce Fontaine getting an EOL for that push. Not necessarily sure if it's been accounted for just yet. Currently listed 13th. Well, granted, the rest of the field hasn't caught up just yet, so that makes sense. We'll see if the likes of Kalinian, Mangrum, and Kern actually get to the tail of the field before Fontaine can properly serve it. There's Kalinian. But they're coming through turns 3 and 4, I believe. And it looks like Mangrum and Kern are catching back up, so I think we'll get everything pretty much sorted out here, relatively speaking. As the pace car dips away, Lee Campbell's in control of the pack right now. And we hit the restart zone. Campbell with a decent getaway, but Thronberg's right with him. As that's our 3rd caution of the evening in the books. And we're back to green flag racing. Campbell holding that inside line nicely against the defending Earl Ross Cup champ. Belmonte trying to give him a bit of a push. But Campbell holding firm so far, and he'll have some help from that inside line. Thronberg kind of in no man's land there on the outside. Nobody really helping him. as Campbell's going to get to the lead, and looks like Tyler Fitzsimmons has picked up a penalty somewhere along the way. I might be able to even see what happened. I do have a timing screen in front of me. Session events. Let's see. I wonder if maybe it's a speeding penalty and my race control guy just doesn't want to admit it. Meanwhile, Campbell continues to hold the lead. Fellow New Yorker Belmonte right on his rear bumper here in second. Anthony Schauer hanging around there in third as well. Remember, he started this one in 20th. So really turning a good run in here is the 22. But we'll see if he's able to convert. How about Matt McDonald sneaking up into fourth? He started on that same row 10 with Anthony Schauer here tonight, starting in 19. But suddenly, the Calgary, Alberta native maybe taking some inspiration from his fellow iRacing success story out of Calgary to this point, and that is, of course, from the College Truck Series, Connor Yurashak out of the University of Calgary. Shout out Dinos. And how about Lee Campbell holding his own here at the head of the field? Great to see another one of our, original guys from season 1 and 2. Oh man, there's McDonald spinning into Herculani. That's going to be caution number 4. And there's McDonald, very much not where he was before, as we'll go ahead and go back to the pack here. McDonald right on the back of Thronberg briefly. And I don't know, does he check up there a little bit? Oh, he kind of comes down on Ireland there. Eventually collects Ireland in that along with Adam Wilson. On first glance, it looks like more or less a incident where he wasn't quite clear. And this will kind of provide a more definitive angle here, I think. Taking a look at Matt McDonald. There he comes down. Yep, didn't have the clearance on Ireland to be able to do so. And there's the end result. As we'll go back live. And we'll get another pit lane parade here on this one. Lee Campbell staying out, as is Justin Belmonte and Blake Thronberg. Yeah, I may have spoken too soon on Schauer there, actually, as it looks like he's below the apron, potentially looking to rejoin. But again, an interesting development there, which led into the fourth caution of the evening. That's, Lee Campbell really holding his own here at the lead of tonight's Nordic Aluminum 200. And it looks like it'll be Tyler Fitzsimmons getting the wave around here. No longer the Lucky Turtle, of course. Shout out Mark Ouellette and, of course, Audrey the Turtle. We hardly knew ye. We certainly appreciated our time with the Lucky Turtle, though. But we are back to the traditional nomenclature here of the term. And certainly some pit lane activity still happening right now. See if we can get a better view of it. Maybe if I have the right camera, that'll help. There's Herculani re-emerging. Yeah, certainly a lot of carnage here over the last little bit. Again, looking like, just kind of a racing incident there between McDonald and Ireland. It doesn't look like there's going to be an EOL handed out to either driver. As we'll bring it back out to our leaders. Looks like we'll be going one more time around here at least. And there go the lights, so we'll get the restart on lap 64. And again, it's an all New York front row here for this restart. Lee Campbell, your race leader. Justin Belmonte on the outside in second. And maybe this will give me an opportunity to nerd out a little bit and figure out. Again, they're both New Yorkers, but certainly there's not much distance between them on the track, but considerably more in real life, living about 4 hours away from each other, give or take, but barely 4 meters apart on the track as it stands right now. And once again, it'll be Lee Campbell leading them off the line. He'll have Blake Thronberg tucked in behind him. Get a bit of a reset here for you into this restart. Lee Campbell leads, Justin Belmonte second, Blake Thronberg third. Car 3 is third, car 4 is fourth. That's Mason Tomlinson. Mike Marini rounds out your top 5. Car 5, John Williams is 6th. Bryce Fontaine snuck up to 7th. Will Kern 8th. Hyperdrive teammate Jared Ireland 9th. Anthony Schauer rounds out your top 10. Lee Campbell's got the field, and he's got a great jump with some help from Thronberg. And we're underway again. Thronberg may be looking at a peek down the inside, but Campbell holding firm. And that's a good jump for that inside line, it has to be said. Oh, Fontaine below the line here. Not 100% sure what's going on. Maybe heading into pit lane. Would he have gotten a penalty there, perhaps? We'll get a development from race control on that to see what's going on. Meanwhile, Blake Thronberg surged into the lead on the outside. Outside line having a moment here now. Mike Marini second. Belmonte third. Lee Campbell drops to fourth. As we'll get the official word here from race control as to what might be going on with the 17. And okay, it is a penalty, so it's for reaching the incident limit here, Bryce Fontaine, and we're just hitting half distance as I briefly lost my feed. That wouldn't have been ideal, to say the very least. But again, there's Blake Thronberg at the head of the field. As Fontaine rejoins, he'll have lost a lap here, as he tries to get back up to speed and do a bit of damage limitation here for the rest of the night. As it stands, Tyler Fitzsimmons would be the lucky dog if there was to be another caution. And let's go to that high line here now where we have Anthony Schauer trying to make something happen, but he's dropping back in the field actually. He now finds himself 12th. And top 15 separated by 1.6 seconds. Following the most recent restart. Again, that is 4 competition cautions we've had here tonight. Still a far cry from some of the numbers we've posted at Atlanta over the years. As now we'll go into a... Oh, boy! I was going to say a rather intriguing all-Eudora, Kansas battle. Tomlinson finds himself in the inside wall. Do I dare say he caught Ireland? No, Ireland survived. Tomlinson did not. Let's have another look. And I should actually get up to Tomlinson for this. And yeah, he kind of gets into the back of Campbell there. Maybe turns him out of 2. And not sure if Campbell checked up there or if it was just a matter of the momentum carrying Tomlinson forward. But we see the end result once again. And, you know, I don't want Lou Bega to sue me for this, but this is caution number 5 of the evening. As we'll bring it back out on track, Blake Thronberg leading. And again, I'm not necessarily expecting a lot of pit lane activity. Well, there's enough. Guys trying to get a bit of service here who are perhaps a little bit further down the field. Maybe trying to play the long game here. That looks like Belmonte headed in. I think Jordan Kalinian was in behind him. We'll go ahead and confirm that. Again, indeed, it is Kalinian in. Matt McDonald behind him. Bryce Fontaine there as well. And trying to get a sense of... Well, I guess I could just look at the leaderboard and tell you who's ahead. So our pole sitter, CD Mangrum. And Lee Campbell, of course, collected in that most recent incident as well. And it looks like, yeah, Mason Tomlinson will be picking up an EOL for the push. That's what I'm being told by Race Control. As we'll go back on track. So 10 laps to go now in this caution-filled second stage here of tonight's Nordic Aluminum 200 within the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR series presented by our friends at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. And so we'll do a little bit of a reset here once again as we wait for the field to grid back up. Again, Blake Thronberg back in the lead, Mike Marini second, John Williams third, Will Kern fourth, Jared Ireland rounds out your top five, Adam Wilson running in sixth, Mario Ercolani seventh, Anthony Schauer eighth, Ryan O'Toole in ninth, and Matt McDonald running in 10th, as this is almost becoming yet another race of attrition here, which our history at Echo Park, we're very well known for that. So even if you think you're kind of more or less out of it now, you're not. As you've seen in this stage alone, there are a lot of things that can bring you back into contention here. So again, if you're a guy like Bryce Fontaine, who's a lap down at the moment, you still got a shot here, because you'd have to imagine there's going to be at least one more incident caution over the course of the evening, not to mention one additional stage caution still to come. So expect the 17 to be back on the lead lap here relatively shortly. And we'll be restarting the action here next time around. It'll be 9 laps to go until the end of the stage. And again, you'd have to think everybody on relatively even footing in terms of their capacity here on track. Again, we'll have to... I think I can actually see that. Yeah, lion's share of the fields on 23 lap old tires, it would appear. Most of them electing not to come in. We were looking at a 33 lap fuel window, and certainly a lot of caution laps allows that to stretch. And we'll see how Thronberg throttles the field this time. And our defending Ross Cup champion gets a nice takeoff. John Williams trying to go with him. As we are back underway in tonight's Nordic Aluminum 200. Thronberg out to a good lead here. Again, Williams trying to claw that back, and he's right on the rear bumper again through turn 2. Kern aiding Mike Marini here. Top 4 pretty much in single file. And Jared Ireland very much trying to join that party. And we've made it through a lap green this time around, as we're on to lap 73 of 130 here tonight. 8 laps remaining in this second stage, 7 once they get to the line. And yeah, Thronberg settling in nicely at the head of the field, as he often does. Certainly a guy who made his mark later in the season last year and now is immediately pushing that momentum forward. As, yeah, we're more or less single file through the top 6, which includes Mario Ercolani running in 6th out of Parsonsfield, Maine for GTR Motorsports. But right on his tail, again, is our all-time... Oh, a bit of contact there in the midfield between McDonald and Shower. And you know what? Let's go on board with the aforementioned Matt McDonald out of... At least I'll attempt to. Indeed, there we go. Don't know why it didn't necessarily go to him in my driver cam, but we're with him nonetheless. McDonald currently running in 8th. Trying to find a way forward through that lower line. And he's right there with Jared Ireland again. Remember, those two got together earlier in the stage. And it looks like that lower line is prevailing here. Yeah, nobody really going with Ireland that time. As now we'll bring it to the head of the field once again for Blake Thronberg. And he'll cross the line. 4 laps to go in the stage. And again, things looking relatively settled out there right now. 12 drivers within a second of each other. CD Mangrum and Tyler Fitzsimmons, they'll have to work together potentially to try and get back on the tail of this. Although, again, the stage caution is just around the corner. These two currently 13th and 14th, but not at the back of the draft. And so we'll go to a guy who's very much in the middle of it, the 29 of Mario Ercolani running in 5th. As we'll be down to 2 laps to go once they hit the line this time for stage 2. And they're coming up on Lee Campbell, who's able to get out of the way as lap traffic here now. Again, not that long ago, he was leading this race, but he got tangled up in one of the many cautions of the stage. And it'll be the white flag this time around for our second stage. Again, Thronberg holding things rather commandingly after this restart. Things not going too crazy, it has to be said. Granted, this is Echo Park / Atlanta. I could easily be speaking too soon. As we're on the final lap of stage 2. Of course, it was the last lap where we got the caution in stage 1. Kalinian trying to make a move on his Control-Alt-Defeat teammate here on the inside line. 3 wide, Kern taps the wall, able to keep it forward. Kalinian diving in on the inside line. He's going to have some help from Williams. And photo finish at the line. Kalinian gets it. That was bang, bang at the line between the 00 and the 3. Again, the 2 Control-Alt-Defeat guys out of North Carolina, both of them. So we'll take another look at how this stage ended. Kalinian, 2 wheels below the line. And we'll see if we can get... no, not that view. Get a nice view here at the line. And, yeah, there's the... That's a pause. That's not the stream freezing. Don't worry. And Kalinian just able to hang on to that one. As now we'll go ahead and get another service, as, you know, the pace car just doesn't want anybody else to exist. And so that's Jordan Kalinian with a stage win after sweeping everything last week. Grabs another one here, another 10 points for his efforts. And Kalinian electing to stay out here. So, again, he was one of the guys who hit it a little bit later. And so we'll go to Thronberg, who's headed into pit lane. No, let's try this view. We got a number of cars, lots of activity behind him. Let's go to Will Kern. Let's see if we can ascertain some more activity. Belmonte in, Thronberg in, Mangrum just making his way in. Go to Ercolani in pit lane. A bit of a drag race with Fitzsimmons on the way out. It looks like Fitzsimmons will grab the position. And so we'll see if, again, there's any kind of strategic gambling here after this round of pit stops. Again, it looks like we had a couple of guys stay out, notably, again, our race leader, Jordan Kalinian. So we'll see what his stint life's like, actually. See if I can track down his numbers. Yeah, it's showing me 23 laps. I feel like that might be maybe not the most accurate at the moment. So let's go ahead and reload the timing screen. Let's see if that'll get me something. Oh, no, I guess it would help if I was actually looking at the right column. So he's had a 12-lap stint here, so yeah, would have pitted on lap 70 during one of the cautions. I think I did see that in the background, actually. So yeah, you'll get a little bit of kind of a mixed field here. You have Kalinian out 12 laps to this point. Anthony Schauer, who's second, is on a 20-lap stint. And then Kern, Thronberg, Marini, they're all on fresh tires. Lion's share of the field's on fresh tires. And so we'll see if Kalinian and Schauer might be just easy prey here for the field behind them. But, you know, considering who's at the head of the field, if there's one guy who could handle it, I would trust Jordan Kalinian. And right before our pace car peels off, we will go ahead and throw our race summary up because we should have some interesting numbers here. Yeah, 6 cautions, 20 lead changes, 16 laps under caution in total, and 7 different leaders. Most recently, Jordan Kalinian snagging the stage win here. And we'll see if he's able to hold on the rest of the way. Well, maybe if I shut that graphic off. We'll go ahead and shut that off as well, as we are going back green. Jordan Kalinian's got control of the field, and he's taking off. Will Kern trying to go with him, as we are underway now in stage 3 of tonight's Nordic Aluminum 200. And again, that nice little push there from Kern gets himself into second, gets ahead of Schauer off the restart. Marini maybe wiggling a little bit there in 4th. Thronberg trying to get by, rounding out the top 5. Top 4 largely single file. Thronberg on a bit of an island there on the outside for the time being, about to get some help from Belmonte. As we complete the opening lap of this 3rd stage. We will try a slightly different look here. Certainly not much of a different look if you're happening to look at the top of the leaderboard over the last 2.25 seasons. We're used to seeing the name Jordan Kalinian at the top. And he finds himself there again rather comfortably, looking for career win number 22, potentially. But still a long way to go, a lot of miles, at least one more pit stop. So absolutely nothing is certain right now. And realistically, we are looking at a lead pack of about 10 drivers right now. So a bit of separation forming already. As we'll scoot back to Jared Ireland leading this secondary pack in 11th. About 2.5, not quite 3 seconds adrift of the lead pack, with Jose Mercado trying to push ahead. Effectively just trying to make sure he's got numbers on the board. He's 17 laps down at the moment, is 41. As now we'll head back up to the head of the field as Kalinian goes high. Will Kern takes the lead. Again, not sure if maybe that's a strategy call on the part of the 00, I should say. Maybe just content to fall back a little bit. He's into a bit of a draft. Granted, he's on the outside line, not able to go with anybody. But coincidentally, it's the two Control-Alt-Defeat guys, Thronberg and Kalinian, at the back of this pack. But it's Will Kern at the head of it. So Kern leads, Shower second, Mike Marini third, Mario Ercolani fourth, and Justin Belmonte rounds out your top 5 right now. As again, we're looking at this more or less pack of 10 that's broken away here in the early going of stage number 3. It'll be 41 laps to go as they hit the line this time around, right about now. And so as they begin lap 90, seems like as good a time as any now that they're in single file to just let them race and let us hear the noise, folks. Again, we may not have TrackCams22.com with us right now, but they're with us in spirit, and they've been with us ever since we moved to the iRacing service. Ladies and gents, I think it's time to crank it up. All right, we'll bring it on back to normally scheduled programming here as we thank again our friends at trackcams22.com. Hopefully we'll have the cameras back in place, and I'll remember to crank it up off this time. And not a whole lot's changed here, quite frankly. Will Kern's still leading this one. Still a relatively tight pack of about 10 drivers contesting this at the moment. Although, do we have a little bit of a shake-up there? I think, did Shower just go into pit lane, perhaps? Oh, did Shower have a disconnection, perhaps? Yeah, he's in pit lane right now, so I'm hoping that, a guy who's been competitive all night... Oh, did he have a penalty, perhaps? Because he's coming back. May have to get some confirmation from race control. And okay, so he is first into pit lane, so we'll see if that triggers anyone to come in, as we're into the triple digits now lap-wise. 100 out of 130, so if you fun kids do the math at home, that'll mean 30 laps remaining at the line. And we continue on. So, theoretically, if Shower filled up all the way, he's good on fuel the rest of the way. We're looking at, again, 33 laps worth of fuel. Seems like a relevant time to revisit our race analysis for the evening. Again, 50 laps in this third and final stage. Fuel window, 33 laps. We're well inside that now. It'll be 29 to go at the line this time around. And so we'll toggle that off, and we'll see how the weather's changed over the course of the evening as well. And really, not a whole lot. So pretty consistent running, it has to be said, in terms of the track. But that's meant the cars have been on edge all night, as we found out earlier from race control. But Will Kern seems to be handling everything just fine here right now, still in the race lead. And very much content to stay out as long as he possibly can. So, we're looking at, a window within, say, the next 10 to 15 laps for the majority of the field. And again, it'll be interesting to see when everybody comes in, whether they want to split the stage in half, which would be coming in about a couple laps. Or we'll see if Anthony Shower's major undercut here winds up helping him. Of course, the trade-off there will be tire life at the end, assuming there isn't another caution, but, that's kind of wishful thinking here at Echo Park Speedway, as we're coming up on 80% race distance now. Once they end this lap, it'll be 26 to go. And still not much separation here, as we've actually got the full pack on the lead lap together here now. As we mentioned, a little bit of a splinter there between the top and bottom halves of the field earlier. Now we've got 12 drivers within 2 seconds of each other. And the rest of the field either one or more laps down, as we're going to see some activity here in pit lane, as Will Kern's coming in from the race lead. Looks like Thronberg's coming with him. And so inheriting the race lead will be the number 12 of Mike Marini out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. But we may want to check on Kern's pit stop. Well, not just yet. He's not in. So it appears to be Kern, Ireland, Kalinian, and Thronberg there. So again, we'll return to live track action. And I'm just going to make sure I didn't miss anything important from race control. Note, just confirmation, pit stops incoming. And again, it's Mike Marini leading the field right now, albeit it looks like we are in this final pit window. Although there is room for variance here, certainly, given the length of the fuel window. So if these guys elect to do a bit of an overcut here, so to speak, extend the stint, that could help them out. And of course, now that I think about it, it makes sense that the likes of Jordan Kalinian would be in right about now, as he would have stretched those tires for a good 40 laps, has to be said. There'd be a lot of guys who would have stayed out. Anthony Schauer among them, actually, so that explains his earlier stop, too. And we'll see how all these strategies converge here over the next 22 laps as they hit the line this time. Mike Marini, of course, looking for his first race win within the series in 5 seasons. Last one would have been at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park all the way back in Season 2. Last official one, of course, as he did pick up the All-Star race in that Season 2 as well. Also at a road course, Indianapolis. As we'll... Oh, I guess that was the camera I was on. And it looks like they're coming up onto the back of Anthony Schauer here. So yeah, the 22 kind of marooned here early on in this last stint of his. Not really anybody to go with. And as a result, the lead pack is going to get by him. So theoretically, that puts Schauer 2 laps down. Granted, again, this pack that's passing him here, they will not have hit it yet. And there's confirmation on the leaderboard, 2 laps down. Again, we've had a very clean final stage here so far. I realize, I should probably punch the nearest wood I can find, not just merely knock on it. As I'm sure there's still a lot of knocks to come. And a guy who took an earlier knock in the evening, tonight's pole sitter, C.D. Mangrum. Remember how I was talking about there being plenty of time to come back? Mangrum's quietly back in 5th, so the guy's had an absolute adventure here at his home track, Echo Park Speedway, and yet he's very much in the mix for a win tonight. So we'll see how things progress for the one, as, got a little hairy there with Williams there for a second. As we'll go back to the head of the field and Mike Marini. 18 laps to go. You'd have to think this lead pack's coming in the next 2 or 3 laps. Matter of fact, how about 2 or 3 seconds? Here they come. And Schauer's gonna get back to 1 lap down. And subsequently, that will allow for the likes of Will Kern to take the lead. Oh, sideways there, Zircolani in pit lane. Able to hold on to it, though. Wilson, may have straightened him out. Belmonte actually winds up with, first entry into pit lane here. So, theoretically, this should... I was about to say that'd be Ryan O'Toole cycling into the lead, but he's come out of pit lane himself. So, does that put Bryce Fontaine in the lead for now? Well, he's coming out of pit lane as well, so still a lot to be decided here. And it looks like Belmonte got a pretty advantageous jump into pit lane. Might be worth looking at that again to see how that came about. But, yeah, what I know is Justin Belmonte's leading this one. Looks like the overcut was the play here. Extending the stint has helped this lead group out, and Justin Belmonte may be the ultimate benefactor here, as he leads this one by about half a second over Mike Marini. But nobody's out of this one just yet. As we'll see what kind of an update I'm getting from race control. And yeah, just to add to that point, I never suspected that it was, but it's certainly legal under green in Atlanta to be able to make that happen. I didn't suspect any foul play there whatsoever. Just a bit of cheeky driving from the 60. But we'll see if Mike Marini has an answer for him here. This appears to be the lead competitive pack here right now. Justin Belmonte, your race leader. Mike Marini second. C.D. Mangrum, tonight's pole sitter, is third. John Williams is fourth. And Adam Wilson there in the 21. He's at the back of this lead pack running in fifth. Top 5 separated by 4/10 right now. And they're coming up on the back of Matt McDonald, 1 lap down, about to be 2. And again, immediate instinct here with 15 laps to go. Feels like staying out longer was the play. And this lead group has executed it to perfection. And as a result, they'll also have the fresher tires to end this one. So theoretically, they should be able to put some separation between themselves and the chasing pack, as we'll go on board now with John Williams out of Moyock, North Carolina. See what race control has in my ear here right about now. And it looks like it's just purely a fuel game here. Let's see if there's anything on my timing screen that would suggest that. Relatively quick stops, it has to be said. As Williams is looking to find a way past Mangrum there ahead in 3rd. But again, this top 5, this little cell here, this seems to be the pack to watch the rest of the way, assuming no funny business happens the rest of the way. And there they make their way through. Again, separated by less than half a second right now, so this could be a fantastic finish here in Atlanta. It looks like Campbell's trying to get out of the way there on the high line. And indeed, the lead pack does cycle through. And again, it's Justin Belmonte leading this one. Mike Marini 2nd, C.D. Mangrum 3rd, John Williams 4th, Adam Wilson in 5th. So you have 4 guys who've tasted victory lane here before in the E-Motorsports Network. Let me just get my numbers here officially. None of them have done it this season, but certainly some winning pedigree there. If you look at Belmonte, he has 5 wins in his E-Motorsports Network career. Mike Marini, as mentioned, 2. Both at Canadian Tire, as they're coming up on the back of Anthony Schauer here. He was the first to pit out of the original lead pack in stage 3, but as you can see, he's about to go a lap down, so definitely didn't work out strategy-wise for the 22, although he had a good run here for the majority of the evening. Anyway, back to the point I was making, as we're down to 10 laps to go now. 9, excuse me. Belmonte 5 career wins, Marini 2. Mangrum is the chief of this particular group when it comes to victories. He's got 8. Adam Wilson has the 1 at Dover in his rookie season. John Williams, of course, the rookie, has yet to taste the victory lane celebration, so to speak, as we're coming up on 8 laps to go. And Will Kern goes 1 lap down after leading, not insignificant piece of tonight's race, it has to be said, for the 31. Despite running really well over the course of the early parts of the evening, this night just hasn't turned out in the favor of hyperdrive whatsoever. With Will Kern, the lead driver out of that trio, 1 lap down, Bryce Fontaine down in 15th, 3 laps down as Schauer gets a little bit of a shunt down below the apron. And Mason Tomlinson's been in pit lane for an extended period of time, taking some damage in the early part of this one. Coming up on a little bit more lap traffic here. Looks like C.D. Mangrum may have dropped off the pace here a little bit. Kind of in no man's land here. We may have a final 4 as we're coming up on 6 laps to go in this one. And Belmonte takes them across the line again. Belmonte looking for career win number 6. He's won at least once every season we've been on iRacing here. And certainly Belmonte would love to have his moments, as again, he entered this one in, we'll just pull it up on the side here, entered tonight's race in 7th in the overall standings. Certainly that overall bump would be fantastic for him, as we're down to 5 to go now, or at least we will be the next time the cross. Oh, there we go, 5 to go. Just a little bit ahead of the scoreboard, I guess. It's like Belmonte's ahead of the field right now. But you have to think there's gonna be some gamesmanship here relatively soon. Belmonte may have to do some ace defending here coming over the next 6 miles as we've got 4 laps to go. See everybody hanging on to that lower line here right now. Nobody taking a peek to the outside just yet. Wouldn't expect a move until, we saw Jordan Kalinian make a move into turn 3 and 4 to win stage 2. So it could even come that late still. But you have an absolutely hungry driver in Mike Marini right behind. A guy who can be aggressive in the right moments. We'll see what kind of nerve Justin Belmonte has at the end here. 3 laps to go. Looks like we're down to a final 4 of Belmonte, Marini, Williams, and Wilson. But again, Belmonte doing a great job of holding his line here. Nobody really putting up a challenge yet. But that'll surely change over the next 3 miles. 2 to go. And again, it's Belmonte leading. Marini trying to figure out how he's going to get past the 60. But P2 would look awfully good on the 12 here right about now. As even Wilson and Williams falling off the back a little bit here. White flags in the air. Final lap of tonight's Nordic Aluminum 200. You already see Wilson briefly having a peek up the outside. Williams tucking into the lower line. Belmonte still holding the lead. Marini, is he going to make the go now? Maybe a little contact there. It sends Belmonte low. They touch again going into 3. Williams is going to push Marini up on the outside. Are we going 3 wide here to finish? No, we're not. Marini's still loose. Belmonte getting the push from Wilson. And it looks like it's New Yorkers. Wilson going to make a move. Marini spins out. Justin Belmonte wins the Nordic Aluminum 200. Fantastic finish there from our lead quartet. And I would say it's well worth looking at that final lap one more time. Assuming I can actually get it there, as the 60 of Justin Belmonte does emerge victorious. Again, I'm trying to get to the replay there. I hope it didn't just lose it because of the end of the race. But Justin Belmonte certainly didn't lose it again. That is career win number 6 for the number 60 out of Patchogue, New York. First win of this season. And there's the celebratory donuts coming. City's known as the ATL, but for Justin Belmonte, tonight might be a case of, at last, getting into victory lane. And certainly a well-earned victory, and, it came off of that cheeky move going into pit lane. Advantageous, it has to be said, for the 60, but fantastic execution as Justin Belmonte picks up the win. Again, his first of this season, as we'll see if the unofficial results will work for me. There we go. We can briefly go over it here now. Belmonte holds on for the win. Hard-charging Adam Wilson finishes in second. Mike Marini comes home third. John Williams with a great run. The rookie comes home fourth. Jordan Kalinian rounds out the top 5. Mario Ercolani finishes this one in 6th. Jared Ireland finishes in 7th. He had an interesting evening. And you want to talk interesting evenings, CD Mangrum, our pole sitter, he's the last guy finishing on the lead lap in 8th. And how about Ryan O'Toole grabbing a top 10 for himself out of Portland, Oregon? 1 lap down in 9th. And Anthony Schauer finishes out the top 10, still 1 lap down in his case. As we will, well, I'm being told that the unofficial result, at least the names do anyway. We'll see. Here we go, the back half of the field. Will Kern finishes in 11th. Again, he had a good run in more or less the first half of the race. Strategy may have done him in stage 3. Matt McDonald finishes in 12th, 2 laps down, as does Blake Thronberg, who again was another early contender. Bryce Fontaine finishes 14th, 3 laps down, as does Tyler Fitzsimmons, finished 3 laps down in 15th. Lee Campbell briefly held the lead in stage 2, ultimately finishes 8 laps down after getting caught up in some contact, finishing 16th. Jose Mercado, 18 laps down in 17th. And then you get into some drivers who had some very unfortunate luck over the course of the evening. Mason Tomlinson, of course, got caught up in an incident about midway through. Tom Janikowski didn't have the best night. Jason Butler was our first official retirement. And then Kyle Knoll ultimately just did a couple laps, grabbed some points, make sure he made himself into the classification. So with that, let's go ahead and toggle that off. I think I may have our podium waiting for me here. So a change in the format this year. We will be chatting with our top 3 drivers. So it'll be Justin Belmonte, Adam Wilson, and Mike Marini that we're talking to here tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and fire up the old Discord service, and we'll see if I can get them into our top 3 chat. So let's see if I can go ahead and throw those guys in. Oh, they're in the waiting room. So let me go ahead and bring them in here. Or actually, might be easier if I just join them in the waiting room, because ultimately the service will work either way. So there we go. Oh, hang on. We're just about to go live here. Let me just go ahead and go to the actual Discord scene. Okay, which one are we? Still getting accustomed to everything here. Okay, there we go. We should have our podium here. Justin Belmonte, Adam Wilson, and Mike Marini. Gentlemen, do we have a copy? All right, certainly a fascinating evening here at the Nordic Aluminium 200. Certainly, a lot of fantastic racing all the way through. Some moments that reminded us that, yes, we're at Echo Park. That definitely doesn't change. But, ultimately some fantastic racing throughout. The 3 of you, along with a couple others at the head of it for the majority of stage 3. So, Justin, I'll come to you first. Just kind of going through that 3rd stage, especially after the chaos of stage 2. What was sort of the biggest thing that you took away to make sure that you kind of kept your head through everything that was going on? Yeah, and then, again, you guys did have that breakaway after the final pit stop, and Michael appreciate this term as a Canadian, but ultimately the TSN turning point for me for the evening was the move into pit lane itself, where, Justin, you were able to jump Mike to grab the lead and ultimately hang on. So what did you see to be able to go for it? All right, and some fantastic defending from yourself there toward the end. But, first, I got to go to Mike, because it's been ages since we've chatted, give or take a few years, I think. So, A, congratulations on the strong finish. And B, what was it like kind of in pursuit after that final pit stop? What was kind of working with Justin ahead of you there that's ultimately couldn't quite make the move despite having a great run yourself? Wait, do we have Mike or no? We're getting to him. We're getting to Adam, but yeah, we've got Mike again now. Okay, so yeah, I was just asking, of course, after Justin kind of jumped you there heading into pit lane. Obviously, it was a bit of cat and mouse between you guys over the last 15 to 20 laps. So obviously a valiant effort on your part to wind up finishing third. I think I said P2 before, but third, I should correct myself. Yeah, just what was kind of working for you over the course of the evening, and then maybe take me through those last 15 to 20 laps as you were trying to find that opening to try and get back to victory lane. I was going to say, it's been a minute since the two of us have chatted. So, first of all, great to hear from you after all this time. And yeah, congrats on the great finish. But yeah, we will go to Adam here now, as you know, you're very much in the equation there for a good chunk of the evening. Then, of course, found yourself in the lead battle for the lion's share of stage 3. So, I guess for you, making sure of kind of maintaining your overall place, what was the biggest key for your race to make sure you were able to grab the big haul of points here tonight? Yeah, and ultimately we saw how that turned out. Now, kind of an open question for all you guys. I got a couple of reports over the course of the evening that the cars were kind of on edge here at Echo Park. So maybe take me through the experience of, trying to handle and navigate this circuit with the cars as they were kind of set up over the course of the evening. Anyone can jump in. All right, Adam and Mike, anything to kind of add to what Justin was saying? Yeah, tortoise in the hair almost, right? Slow and steady can win, but not that you guys were slow at all, because obviously, you had the pace to be there at the end. Yeah, certainly, a fantastic finish for all three of you, but now we head to Kentucky next week. So again, early assessments from all three of you guys as to some of the differences that we'll kind of experience from this track to next. It's been a little bit since we've been at Kentucky, if memory serves. So yeah, I guess just kind of your initial thoughts on what we can expect a week from now. And again, that can go to anybody. Yeah, very much into the head of the in-season challenge, just to jump in on that. But yeah, Mike and Adam, anything to add to what Justin was saying? And I think I heard a nope in there from you, Mike, just confirming that's what you said. There we go. Well, I mean, that's ultimately how we wound up chatting with all three of you here tonight. So again, congratulations to all three of you on the great finishes. And before I let you take off here, again, one by one, we'll get you to go ahead and shout out some of the, sponsors, folks that kind of help you get into racing week by week here. And we'll start with Justin and work our way down the podium. Yeah, and before I get you to add there, Mike, again, shout out to Leadfoot Racing again for the first 3 weeks, but very happy to be back. Anyway, Mike, go ahead. All right, that seems like a good place to put a pin in it for this evening. Again, congrats to all three of you guys on the great finishes, and we'll see y'all in Kentucky next week. All right, I think they may have popped off here straight away, or did I lose them? Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, you guys are all good there now. So, again, thanks a lot, and yeah, we'll see you next week, and we'll see if the results can carry over for you guys. Sounds good, boys. Always. No, that's totally fair, Mike. Yeah, again, we'll see you all next week. All right, and that was the post-race interview with our race winner, Justin Belmonte, Adam Wilson finishing second, and Mike Marini coming home in third. And yeah, before we go, again, we'll hear one last time from our title sponsors, our friends at Valvoline Instant Oil Change.
Good morning, Philip. Time for an oil change. Remember last time?
I'd rather not.
Took 3 hours. You forgot little Henry's video game. You're not as entertaining as a video game, Philip.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes with no appointment needed.
Thanks for coming in.
Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
All right, folks, that'll just about do it for tonight's broadcast of the Nordic Aluminum 200 on the E-Motorsports Network NASCAR series, presented on iRacing and presented by our friends and partners at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. And we hope you join us next week as we head to Kentucky Speedway for the E-Motorsports Network Kentucky 200. And that'll take place next Monday, June 15th. We'll be live roughly 7:45 p.m. Eastern time as we were tonight. And yeah, hopefully we're looking forward to some more fantastic action. We had a heck of a finish here tonight. And let's see if the momentum continues to build as the regular season and the in-season challenge continue. But for now, this is Jordy Carraher signing off. We will see you on the straights, and we'll catch you in Kentucky 1 week from now.